Hello again, welcome to Benchwarmers. Happy Father's Day weekend. Coming up, we are talking all things University of North Dakota in this episode. Alex Heinert coming up a little bit later with what's going on in the UND volleyball program and the latest on the Memorial Village project going on in Grand Forks. But when we come back, Brian Sean with a midsummer update on UND men's basketball. It's going to be an interesting season coming up for the Fighting Hawks with the return of Tyree Iannacho and the addition of Iowa State transfer Eli King. Sean and Paul Ralston, the radio voice of UND men's hoops, talk about it all coming up next.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports, presented by Avera Orthopedics, moving you forward.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. Time to talk North Dakota men's basketball and the Fighting Hawks. Radio play-by-play man Paul Ralston stopping by the studio here. And Paul, an interesting season for UND, coming off a lot of youth on the floor, but they finished the season very, very strong, picked up a tournament win, took a shot at Oral Roberts. But you really saw the growth, I thought, especially in February once they got to tournament time.
Yeah, I think having made their decision, made their bed, so to speak, with Trey Eaglestaff getting major minutes, BJ Omot getting major minutes, you knew there was going to be some growing pains through this season. And certainly we started to see those guys start to get more comfortable. And even though BJ at times down the stretch when North Dakota was running pretty well, maybe it was having his most difficult portion of the season, we also saw some things down in Sioux Falls in the tournament, like some moments of just pure awe that takes your breath away and like, oh boy, this is going to be a lot of fun with those guys, down the stretch here in their careers.
Yeah, I think we saw that too. Certainly, Sidze played really, really well down the stretch, a bunch of double-doubles in February as he got into tournament time. And that takes us kind of into our next point, which is retention. That's kind of been Paul Sather's goal here this season, is try to hang on to guys. The transfer portal era is tricky for everybody, especially in mid-majors, but to keep the youth, to keep the Omots and Eaglestaffs, get Sidze to come back another year. Brady Danielson is returning for another season. All of a sudden you look at UND's roster and they may be one of the more experienced groups in the conference.
I look at Brady Danielson as this is a guy that whatever you ask him to do, I mean, the guy just goes out and does it. If you give him the hardest defensive assignment, he'll take it no matter if he's undersized or he just goes and does the job. But one thing that gets overlooked on the Brady Danielson side is that he lays the foundation of kind of how they want to play with a certain toughness. But he shot at almost 37% from three last year. Now think about if everybody just goes up a percent or two with Sotne retained. I mean, he got up there 35% by the end of the year. Trey continues to improve. BJ continues to improve. All these guys having a year to return and work during the offseason, boy, this could be a formidable team, not only with all the things around the basket that they can do, but stepping out around the hoop, around the arc as well.
And so much of it is between the ears and confidence. I think you saw that grow with a lot of these young players throughout the season as well. And to see the ball go in the basket certainly helps. But you also have to add pieces. The transfer portal giveth, it taketh away. But Paul Sather was able to bring in some guys that are pretty significant names. I mean, you talk about an Eli King, a guy that was a four-star recruit out of Caledonia, point guard that went to Iowa State is coming here. Going to the transfer portal and get Deng Mayer and find another big body. They were able to bring in some guys that should be able to help them immediately.
I think Eli King is interesting from the standpoint of if you look at his rebounding numbers in high school, there's a player that obviously is a physical player that isn't afraid to play a certain style. He got to the basket a lot. Certainly some has been made about, well, can he shoot it? But you know what? They've got other guys they can rely on, and as that evolves, I think he slots right in. And then you talk about Deng and his athleticism and having that piece to interchange, so to speak, with some of these guys. Does that allow Sotne to get around the arc even more where he's really starting to stretch opposing defenders away from the basket? That's going to allow driving lanes for a lot of those guys as well. And so, yeah, I think they were not only good pieces to find, but maybe the right pieces for Coach Sather and his staff.
And then adding another junior college, one of the leading rebounders in Amar coming in here as well from the junior college ranks, got him pretty late in the process. And then a familiar face returns in Tyree Iannacho, probably one of the more interesting stories you're going to find in college basketball anywhere, how he was here, freshman of the year as the Summit League, goes to James Madison, and then comes back and says, I want to return to the program. Paul Sather said, hey, let's make it happen. And that adds another level of experience too.
It goes to show you in today's day and age of everybody talking about the portal and college sports will never be the same again. It's about how you leave and how that whole situation evolves with the staff and the individual. Is it just burnt earth, the scorched earth when that player leaves. In that instance, it wasn't, and it allowed Tyree an opportunity to come back and say, hey, maybe this would be the right fit for me. The staff certainly probably looked at it, but realized that Tyree offers something in this league that he can be a very effective player. We saw that in his freshman season, that he can guard a lot of people effectively on the perimeter, and then he's certainly very gifted in involving his teammates and finding some time to score for himself too. So it all depends on kind of the NCAA waiver situation. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I always have been impressed with his game, so I'm excited that he's back.
Yeah, to have that kind of level at point guard, a guy that's been there and done that certainly makes a big difference as well. Paul, thanks for stopping by. It should be an exciting year of Fighting Hawk men's basketball, the most experience that Paul Sather's had since his first year when they went all the way to the title game.
I'm looking forward to it. First, I got to get through this summer and get a few more rounds of golf in, so we'll see you here in the fall, and looking forward to the winter.
All right, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.
All right, stay with us here on Benchwarmers. We'll talk North Dakota women's basketball with our Midco Sports analyst, Val Sussex, when we come back. Welcome back to Benchwarmers as we shift gears from men's basketball to women's basketball here for the University of North Dakota. And our Midco Sports analyst, Val Sussex, is here with us to talk about it. And the Fighting Hawk women, 2 years ago, 2 wins. This past season, 19 victories, a third-place finish in the Summit League, and a postseason tournament in the WBI. A lot of momentum made here in the last couple of years for Mallory Bernhard.
Yeah, it really was. I think Mallory did such a nice job with the players she had, trying to define roles, and she had a lot of leaders. I think that's what really shone through. She had kids that stuck with, she had kids that bought in. When you get a Juliette Gordon, a Claire Orth, a Maggie Manson, and then you can add a player like a Jolie Danager from a leadership perspective, good things happen. And then anytime you have a Casey Baravich on your team, you always have a chance to win the game. And that's the cool thing about Mal and what she put together last year and what we can look forward to coming up next year.
And you lose a lot of those seniors. Juliette Gordon, a lot of games played. Maggie Manson, a lot of games played. Jolie Danager, a lot of experience. A lot of those players have moved on. Claire Orth, another one. Casey Baravich does return, and that is a big piece coming back. And you're talking about a first-team All-Summit League performer. We saw what she could do in some of those games, including the Summit League tournament game they lost, over 30 points in the loss to Omaha. That's a great place to start with a bunch of younger players that are going to be expected to step up now.
Definitely. Casey is the catalyst. She is the one, and she can do it on her own. She can go. But to have players around her that can really step up and be someone that she can release the ball to, she draws a lot of attention. And I think they have that with the 7 returners that they have. They've had a fantastic spring. They know that the girls that graduated will be dearly missed, especially their leadership. But Casey's ready to step up more in a leadership role. Samaya Hoskin had a great spring. She is going to emerge as a leader for this Fighting Hawks team. Miranda Vanderwall, I think, is one that everyone's going to be really excited for to see. She's been around for a couple years. What kind of step could she take in the offseason? So far this spring, she's really looked good for the Fighting Hawks. Love her feet, and I like her hands, and she's finishing much better around the rim. So little pieces like that. Nikaya Hurst, she's going to have another great year. She had a lot of experience and a lot of opportunity last year, and she's doing everything that she needs to do in the off season just to continue to get better. And she'll be a good 1-2 punch to help Casey out as well.
We saw Rakaya Beal even towards the tail end of last year start to elevate her game. She got to campus kind of late, but you saw her athleticism. Michaela Almer didn't play a lot, but another kid that worked really, really hard. Essentially what was kind of a redshirt year for her, getting some minutes. There's a lot of these youngsters that are freshmen that are going to be sophomores. They're going to be counted on to do a lot more, aren't they?
They really are, and that's why the spring and then transitioning to the summer are going to be so important. Big first thing for them is the weight room. Get some of those young kids like a Beal into the weight room and get her stronger. She's so darn athletic. If they can get her a little bit stronger and then just get her skill set a little bit more defined, she's a dangerous player in our Summit League.
And again, the transfer portal is one of those things. Sometimes players come and go. You have to manipulate that and maneuver that as a coach. That goes for the same for for coaches. Sometimes some coaches move on, and Mallory has to replace a couple of coaches as well that had a lot of experience in Coach Young and Coach Motherwell. It does create a different dynamic for this team moving into next season, doesn't it?
It really does. I had asked Coach Mallory, are you going to do anything different, with the new staff and new coaches? And she just said, I am looking forward to some fresh ideas and see what some of these coaches I'm going to hire have to offer. And then she said, I'm going to definitely go after a post player. If I'm changing one thing from last year, we love Juliette Gordon and everything she did for us on the block, but we could do better with a bigger, stronger, more physical post player. So that would be her one thing that she's looking to change, is find somebody 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and she's got a couple scholarships left. So that's in the works.
And this really is an opportunity for Mallory Bernhard, who has now been around and kind of been through the tough days, and I have seen some of the days where things are going a lot better. It's hard to believe this is really year 3 technically, but really year 4 in even a lot of ways is too for her as a head coach. It's her chance to kind of put her stamp on this program on her own.
It really is. You know, she's kind of had the same assistant crew or core for the most part since she was the interim head. And so this really is a good, you know, kind of turn the page for her, and this is her and this is what she wants to do and where she wants to go, and she's more than capable and extremely ready to just really be the sole, you know, put her stamp on it and be the one that really drives the ship here. And we're really excited for her at UND, and we're excited to, you know, watch her coach this team. She's got a lot of good tools, and she's a great coach, so it's going to be a good year.
And, you know, we've talked about this a little bit in other parts, but just the fact the Betty's going to look a little different coming into this season, that's exciting as well.
It is, yeah. Some different structural changes, you know, adding some bigger bleachers on one end and removing bleachers on the other and creating more of a hospitality space, trying to drive those young alums, maybe some more young fans. We get a lot of young fans, you know, my age, your age, with families, little kids coming, but let's get that really young alumni age, that young professional age that wants to come and watch from a more casual environment, and you're going to see that on one end of the Betty. So it's going to be fun. The strong bleachers on the sides where Champions Club members sit and where our seasoned veteran season ticket holders sit, those aren't going away and those aren't changing. Everyone will have their same seats, but on the ends it'll look a little bit different, and it's going to be great.
Well, the season will be here before you know it. Thank you for stopping by as always, and we'll see you in November when we get things revved up.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, stay with us for more here on Benchwarmers.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers. I'm Alex Heinert here at the Betty Engelstad Sioux Center talking University of North Dakota volleyball with the head of that program, Jesse Tupac. Jesse, thanks for taking some time here this summer.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Alex.
Yeah, Jesse getting set to begin year number 2 in charge of Fighting Hawks volleyball. Year number 1, by every account, was a huge success. You took a team that had struggled to gain results the last couple of seasons and turned them into a Summit League tournament team. What was the biggest reason, Jesse, from the turnaround, from what we'd seen from this group in years past to what we saw this past year?
Yeah, I think it's a credit entirely to the athletes. You know, they put in so much work to grow every single day, to push themselves, but also to push each other and to have each other's backs while doing so. And it's not easy to do that. It's tough to be a Division I athlete. And they came in every day and they put in the work and they got better every step of the way, and we're really proud of them for that.
Yeah, this team finished 9-9 last year. At one point, though, you were 9-3 and very much in the hunt for a Summit League championship. What were some of the lessons, perhaps, that you'll take from the month of November that you can carry forward to year number 2?
Yeah. We talked about wanting to play in the postseason, which is something that hadn't happened for a while, and that meant that the season was going to be longer. And so, were we ready, and had we bulletproofed our bodies to the point where we were able to sustain that over time? Now, it turns out that there was a period where we played 5 consecutive 5-set matches in a row, and that took a bit of a toll on our team. I think we learned some lessons of, hey, how can we better prepare ourselves for those later stages of the year when we're wanting to play in the postseason, and it's win or go home.
Those are some of the things that you learn as a first-year head coach. Now going into year 2, what are some of the things perhaps that you've noticed this summer already that you're a little more comfortable with now that you've had 18 months underneath your belt in this job?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is just that we've spent more time together.
Sure.
We've got a season under our belts, and so we've got a group of returning athletes that all understand our systems and how we want to play and how we want to communicate and how we want to treat each other. And when you've got that in place, and then you bring in 8 phenomenal new athletes to join that group, then we really start to accelerate the growth that we're able to have and the success that we can have.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the returners. That's a big reason why there's so much excitement around this group coming into 2023. So many big names who were key contributors to the team last season are back now for another year.
Yeah, we've got Elizabeth Norris, who was an all-conference player for us, who was number 2 in the country in triple doubles and set a career record at UND, which we're very proud of her for that. And she is coming back, and she's joined by Paige Barber, who's on the all-freshman team, and Marissa Stockman, who was an all-tournament player for us, as well as a whole stable of athletes that are healthy and are going to be able to play all season long, as well as bringing in the 8 new players as well.
You mentioned 8 newcomers to the group, a couple of transfers, and a handful of freshmen joining the Fighting Hawks this year.
Yeah, so we have 6 freshmen. We have 2 transfers. The 2 transfers we're really excited about. Casey Odell is joining us for her 5th year, coming from Montana State, where she played the last 4 years. And then we've got Herline de los Santos Lugo, who's from the Dominican Republic. She's a 6'4" middle blocker, was an All-American at the junior college level and led the nation in blocks, as well as 6 freshmen, which include 2 outside hitters from Canada who are part of the youth national team, the number 1 setter from the state of Minnesota, 2 all-state liberos from Colorado and California, and a 6'4" middle blocker from the state of Texas. So we've come from all over the country and all over the world with this class, but we've got a really exciting group joining us.
Oh, that is awesome. Fun to hear those names and get excited about this group. Because again, the season will begin in about a month and a half or so, which is crazy, right around the corner here this summer. Jesse, congrats again on a great start to your tenure here at Grand Forks. Best of luck here in 2023.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Jesse Tupac. When we come back on Benchwarmers, we're talking facilities with Deputy Athletic Director Eric Martinson. That's next.
Thanks for watching Benchwarmers, presented by Avera Orthopedics, moving you forward.
Welcome back to Benchwarmers of the University of North Dakota in the midst of another wave of improvements to facilities across campus. UND Athletics, of course, a big part of that. To discuss some of that vision for what this campus is going to look like from an athletics perspective, we're proud to be joined by UND Deputy Athletics Director Eric Martinson. Eric, thanks for taking some time this summer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
The big news that everybody can see when they're driving down Columbia Avenue is the changes to the old Memorial Stadium, which is now going to be Memorial Village. That's a process that's been in the works now for a long time, and one that's really exciting for our student athletes.
Yeah, we're really excited to have that. You know, we always talk about when you come over the overpass at Columbia, we want to look to that right and really see what that looks like, that whole area, what that can look like. And we've had a vision for that for a long time with our facilities master plan, and really with Memorial Village 1 becoming that first key step to really making that fruition. It's been exciting to work with the developers and kind of a P3 model of what that is with the public-private partnership, and really great support from our developers and our campus, and just really everyone kind of coming together to make that a reality. It's really special, and we got a lot of steps in the making, and that's it's going to be awesome once it's completed.
You mentioned phase 1 of Memorial Village. Give us a little idea of what is going into phase 1. What should we expect?
Yeah, so we always talk about, you know, the Pollard Athletic Center and the addition that we're working on and doing that philanthropically. That's going to be kind of the sweaty part of it, with the weight room, the locker rooms, the sports med area, and then Memorial Village 1 really being where the athletics and the student success center and the football offices and the coaches' offices and kind of the administration part of it going to be on that first floor, and then a little bit on that north side of what we're going to occupy, and the rest will be market rate housing. So really kind of a cool, unique way of doing it, but I think that really kind of keeps it separate of that sweaty versus non-sweaty side. But the unique thing about that is we're going to have a hawkway that's going to go in between both buildings, between the addition that we're raising money for philanthropically, but also with that Memorial Village 1. So that'll be a temperature controlled, you know, you can walk out in the middle of winter, go from one building to the next without having to go outside. So we're really excited about that.
It's kind of a nice addition to have in the bank.
It helps, yes.
Give us a reminder, when will this be completed?
So Memorial Village 1, roughly kind of towards the end of 2024, summer 24, fall 2024, and then we're going through with the addition and trying to raise money for that philanthropically, and really trying to do things kind of on a parallel track. You'll see dirt being moved as early as July 1st for the addition on really getting that shell ready to go. We kind of split it up with different ways of doing it. So that can be probably shortly thereafter, the Memorial Village 1.
Yeah, this is something that's been a long time, first in the planning stages and now, of course, in the construction stage. Give us an overview of what this is going to mean for the student athletes here and the coaches as well. They're going to occupy that space.
Yeah, absolutely. The Hislop Sports Center has been a phenomenal building. It's rich with history, and we appreciate that and honor that. But really, this is that next evolution of where we are with athletics across the Summit League, across the Missouri Valley Football Conference, and even the NCHC. So love the Hislop, but this is going to put us up against the best, and we want to be the best. We got to be up against the best with what our facilities look like from a recruiting standpoint and a student athlete experience standpoint. So we're really excited to really elevate that for sure.
Memorial Village and Phase 2 of the Pollard Center, all part of a bigger master facilities plan that University Athletics has had in place for a while now. Talk us through. What are some of the steps along the way as you continue to move forward?
Like I said, we have that vision of kind of coming over the overpass and really looking to the right and saying what that is, and that's really the athletics district. You know, we're even in conversations about Memorial Village 2 potentially, and potentially a softball diamond and what that area looks like. You know, really elevating Bronson Field, trying to look at what the Betty and the Ralph can need from certain different things from the master planning perspective of potentially another gym. Really trying to think of it holistically. You know, even Ray Richards Golf Course, how can that be the home of men's and women's golf and cross country, and trying to do things there. And we have things on the move there, what that could be from where the old driving range is, and then Choice Health and Fitness. So really trying to really bundle everything together and think holistically, but trying to think, okay, what can we do on parallel tracks to really move athletics forward? And I think that's what that athletics facility master plan is doing, and we're seeing movement, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. That is a great word to describe what is going to happen and what's already happening. Again, this room is a testament to the job that you've already done with checking a lot of big projects off the boxes.
Not only from the master plan perspective, but also just looking at the different projects we're doing within the Betty, within the Ralph, different areas that we can say, hey, wow, we're making an impact and we're really elevating the student athlete experience, because ultimately that's number one, from nutritional rooms to video rooms to locker rooms. We're doing a lot of different things. The weight room just got updated in the Ralph and the Betty. So really cool things that are happening that we're continually working on a daily basis, and we have such great help from our development staff and our donors, the university as a whole, Bill Chaves and Chad Karthauser within our department. So it's just phenomenal to get everyone kind of on the same page and everyone wanting to see us succeed, and we're really excited about those small projects as well that we're doing.
Yeah, a lot of ribbons have been cut by this man recently, and more to come. Eric, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Best of luck moving this university forward. That's all we got from Grand Forks today for Benchwarmers. Tom, let's send things back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Alex, and thanks to Brian and Paul and Val and everybody in Grand Forks. We will turn our attention to the University of South Dakota coming up next week on Benchwarmers. Jay Elson and our Coyote crew with all that is going on in Vermilion this summer. We will see you next week on Benchwarmers.